BJP activist Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar go back, unquote. When people reminded them that they were showing disrespect to a constitutional authority, they said, too bad. It's our right to free speech. And the TMC government said, of course it is. Carry on. The TMC, for example, was equally chuffed at the manner in which India's democratic traditions were being nursed by JNU and Jamia students in Delhi as they staged protests, decrying Prime Minister Modi and Home Minister Shah for bringing in the CAA. You might remember that, viewers. Or when in 2015, protests against Modi's 3-day visit to the United Kingdom, called by UK-based NGO Awaz Network, which includes groups like Dalit Solidarity Network, Indian Muslim Federation, Indian Workers Association, Muslim Parliament, Oxford South Asia Forum, and most recently, just last week, the TMC-backed comedian Kunal Kamra, entire opposition-backed comedian Kunal Kamra, when he had an indirect go at the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. Given the opposition's tolerance for dissidents, for protests, especially by students, one would have thought that the TMC would have been welcoming of protests against West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee during her address at Kellogg College, Oxford University. Protesters tried to disrupt her speech by raising the issues of post-poll violence and the RG Carr College scandal. You know, that horrible rape case, viewers. And they said that whatever she was saying about these things were lies. First, watch the sequence, viewers.
I don't mind. Please raise your voice. It is a democracy. Please raise your voice. I listen. I will listen carefully. You know the case is sub judice and also it is central government has taken over. It is not with us. Don't try to make it into a political platform. If you want to make it a political platform, go to Bengal and tell your party to be more strong and more strong to fight against the communal people. Don't fight with me. This is you here. This is you going to kill me. I was about to die. This is your atrocities. Just see. Just have a look. Instead of insulting me, you are insulting your own institution. Don't disrespect your institution. You can disrespect me, but you cannot disrespect your institution. Didi don't bear border. Didi don't bother anybody. Didi walk just like a Royal Bengal tiger. If you can catch me if you can. But don't fight me if you don't catch me.
Viewers, in the past, when the JNU VC, for example, has come out and said to students, don't insult your institution by resorting to all sorts of protests which are ill-conceived, the entire opposition has pounced on the JNU VCs and said, you are quelling the voice of youthful, honest expression. Well, viewers, here Mamata Banerjee is saying, don't insult your institution, just because some students mustered the courage to ask her some questions. Of course, back in the day, viewers, in 2012 or so, she had a professor jailed who made the mistake of asking her a question in a public meeting. Well, initially, viewers, I won't lie to you, initially the TMC lauded the Chief Minister, saying she was a Bengal tiger for taking the criticism on her chin gamely. But then later in the day, instead of appreciating the students, the TMC's noisy pro-free speech parliament posse and other India bloc leaders got busy condemning the protests and defaming the protesters. Jayaprakash Majumdar of the TMC, who's the state vice president, said, see, this protest was pre-planned, uncivilized thing. Bharatya Basu, who is the Bengal education minister, said, quote, this is their habit, cynical habit. They do this with everyone. I am condemning it vocally. Now, viewers, when dear leader was being attacked, their tolerance for free speech has plummeted. Shogoto Roy, TMC MP, He says, and I quote, I condemn the demonstration against Mamata. The Oxford and UK police should have protected her, unquote. Akhilesh Yadav, Samajwadi Party Supremo, who has a view these days on everything, said, quote, the narrow-mindedness displayed by the anti-social elements protesting against Bengal's Chief Minister is the beginning of a wrong tradition whose poisonous vine will prove fatal for those who are planting it, unquote. Freedom of expression, it appears, viewers, is reserved only for those abusing Prime Minister Modi, and who, it appears, viewers, are only motivated by a hatred towards the NDA. Those people, their freedom of expression, their intent must be lauded. But anyone asking you questions, the opposition questions, are all agents, paid agents. They are people who don't have any dharma. They are insulting institutions that they represent. And that worse, of course. Worse, viewers, as Jayaprakash Majumdar has said, that they are all uncivilized. Viewers, this is a massive double standards at play, and let's interrogate this. Let's ask some questions. Let's ask some direct questions. Let me go straight across to TMC sympathizer Tausif Khan. We also have with us Dr. Suman C. Raman. He's a champion of free speech. And I want to first begin with you, Mr. Khan. And I have to ask you this question straight off the bat, Mr. Khan. What is going on? Mamata Banerjee says Jadavpur students were doing their duty by democracy, by heckling, picketing, and to use a colloquial term, gheroing the then Bengal governor. Here, the TMC has turned on these student protesters who are just employing the same skill set that is lauded at Jadavpur and JNU and Jamia. Why this double standard, sir? And then you talk about how free speech is being quashed, etc. Explain to me, why has Jayaprakash Majumdar trolled these people? Please tell me, why does he call them uncivilized?
No, Rahul, you are comparing apple with oranges.
Okay.
Students posing question to the chancellor is different than those who have got nothing to do with the chief minister of a different country, of a different state. Here in London, we have a group of students who are protesting, who are disrupting the speech, who has been invited by the university. Mamata Banerjee was invited by the university to come and deliver a keynote speech on the issue which has been highly appreciated. The achievement of West Bengal, the welfare schemes like Kanya Shri that she introduced, which was recognized and awarded by
Mr.
United
Khan,
Nations
look,
itself.
I'm not getting into the substance of the speech.
And
I'm getting into the reaction to protests. And these were not some foreign students. They were not blonde, white students here. They were sir, Teutonic.
These are not students
Teutonic
questioning
students.
their chancellor.
They were Bengali students.
In Jadavpur, chancellor, in Jadavpur, student questioning chancellor makes sense.
Why?
Chancellor is the head of the
students
university.
Questioning the Prime Minister.
But Mamata Banerjee is not the head of the Oxford University.
In JNU, students questioning the Prime
Minister.
Minister.
Mamata Banerjee is not the head of the Oxford University.
In JNU, students holding the university to ransom for months at a time is okay against the government. That's fine. Come on, sir. Be honest to yourself. Put your hand on your heart. And say to us today, made a mistake. This person, Jayaprakash Majumdar, should not be saying this. Mamata Banerjee should not have been holding up and emotionally blackmailing these protesters. They're students. They're curious students.
Yes, and students can ask questions from the teacher, from the management, from the vice chancellor, from the chancellor.
Viewers, listen to this. These students come from Bengal. They are going to go back after studying in Oxford with their big degrees, and they hope that that Bengal will give them a future. They have a stake in asking the chief minister, their own chief minister, a question. And here you have the TMC coming out and calling them all sorts of names. These students, some of them are women students. They will be going back. They want a safe Bengal so they can go out at night and work. rather than getting assaulted on the streets. And they're asking, what is your response to RG Kar? And this man is saying that they have no locus standi. I mean, come on. How brazenly duplicitous can you be? Shame on you, sir. Tonight, I'm sorry, I thought you would have the gumption to say that this Jayaprakash Majumdar, who is a turncoat, by the way, should have actually come out and said, I'm sorry. And you would have said, no, Mr. Jayaprakash Majumdar, please back off. Not the right thing to do. Yes, these students are very much from Bengal. They are studying in UK because they hope to go back to their state. They hope to become entrepreneurs. They hope to become first citizens of Bengal. And they hope that the Bengal they go back to will give them opportunity. Not the scorched earth that you have seen over the last 15 years. Nonetheless, I'm not going to go down that route. I'm stunned today.
You are entitled to your opinion.
Should the TMC be reacting with such scorn? I'm asking you. Some simple questions being asked by some simple students and others. What's the big deal?
There is no big deal. I mean, where did Mamata Banerjee threaten anybody, or all she handled the questions with aplomb?
Which aplomb? Did you hear what she said? You're insulting the institution. How are they insulting the institution? Let me play out that soundbite again. Viewers, you tell me, in what aplomb? I'll tell you what has happened today, viewers. As usual, as usual, viewers, the mainstream left, the mainstream left media. I'll come back to you, sir. 1 second. Give me 30 seconds. As usual, viewers, Dr. Raman, I can't fault him because he has read copies that have been put out by the mainstream left media. And what is this mainstream left media saying? Oh, Mamata Banerjee was so sporting. She took it on her chin. She is a great tiger. And they are quoting, and the headlines are saying. Viewers,
the video is also showing the same
She is holding them up and saying, don't insult your institution. The institution has taught them, Oxford has taught them to be upright and ask questions. They are inquiring minds. The institutions like Oxford, JNU, others that you praise here in this country are supposed to produce inquiring minds. Now, when these inquiring minds ask questions, you insult them?
No.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Me, doctor.
First
Please.
of all, 2-3 things. First of all, I don't think you are aware that a political party student organization has claimed responsibility for
what,
the protest,
sir?
right?
In JNU, what do you think they are? Enjolus.
Exactly. 1 minute.
They are also left. They are also left-wing people. Who do you think Kanhaiya Kumar was? Who do you think Umar Khalid was?
1 minute.
Oh, come on, sir. Stop this. Stop this. Don't try to now change the goalpost. Dr. Raman, please have some respect for those poor children who are asking questions. Say that yes, made a mistake. We should be more tolerant. Whether it is even an NDA minister should be more tolerant. Why can't you say these things?
Exactly, where they locked up like Umar Khalid has been in jail for so many years.
I mean, I'm only saying today 3 people have been given relief by the courts. We should say we should encourage free speech. You are sitting here and making an excuse for Mamata Banerjee and her party. Look at what Mamata Banerjee's party has called these students, viewers. 1 second. Dr. Raman, do you think it is right? Do you think what Bratya Basu has said is right? It is their habit. A cynical habit. They do this with everyone. I'm condemning it vocally. What are they condemning?
Running away because you're not willing to play the clip.
Which clip am I supposed to play? Okay, let's play the clip again. Play it again, viewers. You say how she's telling these students you're insulting your institution. Let's play it out.
Absolutely.
Play it out, sir. Let's play it out. Let's listen.
And then what does she do?
I don't mind. Please raise your voice. It is a democracy. Please raise your voice. I listen. I will listen carefully. You know the case is sub judice and also it is central government has taken over. It is not with us. Don't try to make it into a political platform. If you want to make it a political platform, go to Bengal and tell your party to be more strong and more stable to fight against the communal people. Don't fight with me. This is you want to kill me. I was about to die. This is your atrocities. Just see, just have a look. Instead of insulting me, you are insulting your own institution. Don't disrespect your institution. You can disrespect me, but you cannot disrespect your institution. Didi, don't bear border. Didi, don't bother anybody. Didi, walk just like like a Royal Bengal tiger. If you can.
There you go, viewers. There you go. It's very clear. She begins by
Rahul,
saying,
she
listen,
handled it
one second
beautifully.
now, doctor, don't heckle. One second.
think-
I'm not going
I
to stop
think
you
it's a-
from
it's a
speaking, sir.
self-goal.
You have your right
a
to free speech. This is
spectacular
what happens.
self-goal.
She first says, ask me questions, I'm here. Then her tone
Spectacular
begins to
self-goal.
change. It begins to change and then she gets underhand. She pulls out a photograph. Viewers, which chief minister, which speaker in the world roams around with a photograph that dates back 40 years? And then says, I mean, this is bizarre. Do you think she tucks in this photograph and keeps it, in her pallu to pull it out in front of everybody? Viewers, and then you say you're insulting
Maybe
your
she anticipated
institution,
this question.
that you want to kill me. Persecution complex, viewers. Sanju Varma wants to
handled it
respond.
perfect.
Thank you.
I can't
Yeah.
believe it.
It's a
Students
spectacular
want to
Rahul.
kill.
self-goal today.
Yes.
Oh,
Very
Mr.
poor
Raman,
topic
please.
Yeah.
Rahul, can
for
I?
a
Thank
debate.
you.
Let's
You know,
Dr.
Rahul.
Raman can't defend
Oh
the
my
indefensible,
God.
for God's sake. Yes, go ahead.
It's a spectacular self-goal.
Mr. Raman, I
Playing
did not
the
interject.
spectacular
Now please
self-goal.
hold your horses.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rahul,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was quiet all along. Thank you. Thank you for being so generous, Mr. Raman. That's so typically unlike you. Anyway, now let me just come straight to the point. If Mamata Banerjee is Royal Bengal tiger, then Sanju Varma is White Bengal tiger, Mr. Ranganathan is Sumatran tiger, Rahul Shiv Shankar is the fiercest of them all, the Siberian tiger. So ये examples और ये जो तुक्केबाजी है, let's not get into semantics. The facts that I want your audience to know, Rahul, is this. The first point is this. Look how rattled she was. She actually alluded that the students belong to a political party. Her reaction was, why don't you come to the state of West Bengal and strengthen your party? These were bona fide students who had genuine questions on the Arjikar case, genuine questions on Mamata Banerjee's Hindu phobia, genuine questions on the post-poll violence. Don't forget, not one but 6 students asked her about the post-poll violence of 2021 and the post-poll panchayat violence of 2023. So first point is, she cannot even take questions from well-meaning students. Point number 2, I was baffled. I have 2 eyes, I have 2 ears, I have 1 liver, I have 1 nose, I have 2 hands, I have 2 limbs. Come on. You are the chief minister of one of the most important states in the eastern part of India, one of the 2 women chief ministers. You know, how can you embarrass yourself on foreign soil? And the third point, which I take strong offense to, when one of the key persons on the dais told her that India today is the 5th largest economy, it has overtaken the United Kingdom, and we are today the 6th largest. We, as in, this was a British national who told her that India has overtaken Great Britain.
Yeah.
What does she say? She said, oh, I don't believe that India will become the 3rd largest or India will become the 2nd largest. I mean, come on. As an Indian cutting through my political affiliations, if somebody asked me, what do you have to say about India's status in the Committee of Nations? I would very proudly keep my political ideology aside and say, I'm very proud to tell you
Okay.
we will be the world's 4th largest this year and 3rd largest next year.
You say-
But the final point is this, Rahul.
Yeah.
The final point, as you said, this is not about the substance. This is about her reaction to the questions
Absolutely.
that were put to her, and she is the same chief minister who incarcerated a man called Ambikesh Mahapatra
That's right.
for 11 years simply because he shared an innocuous meme that had Mamata Banerjee in it. She's the same chief minister who arrested a 22-year-old BJP karyakarta
That's right.
called Priyanka Sharma in 2019
Yeah.
simply because she shared an innocuous meme of Mamata Banerjee.
Yeah.
So what exactly are we talking of?
So 1 second. Now you have condemned me to Siberia, but that's okay. I'm going
I
to
told you
I'm
the
going to claw
fiercest
back from
tiger.
Siberia.
He probably
Siberian tigers are the
say that
fiercest,
they were
Rahul.
ashamed to be Indians.
Okay,
before
okay. Dr. Raman,
2014.
don't do
Oh,
that.
Probably
my
wants her to say that.
Don't do that.
Somebody
Come on.
said that, remember,
Listen,
on foreign
listen.
soil, that the people were ashamed to be Indians,
Okay.
to be identified as Indians.
Okay.
I don't know.
Look,
my
viewers,
Maybe
this
Sanju
cuts
Varma can
across
tell us
all.
who it was.
Dr. Ranganathan, let me bring you in. Yes, let me bring you in. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this? I mean, you are a champion of free speech in JNU, but suddenly turn, not you, Mamata Banerjee, the opposition, etc., where JNU students affiliated to political parties, let me make it very clear, to take care of all the caveats that have been injected here, by the way, attack Modi freely, etc., and you say they have a right to. They are developing minds. And then in Oxford, you have a problem. You say you're insulting your institution.
Indeed, Rahul, good evening, and good evening to my fellow panelists. The problem in our country is that people believe with the passage of time, you can airbrush facts. People might not remember it. So you had one panelist out here saying, look, these poor students, they have not been arrested like Umar Khalid was put in jail. Umar Khalid was put in jail not for heckling and disrupting an event. The High Court has repeatedly denied bail to him because it's a criminal conspiracy that he's been involved in. But you compare this false equivalence you bring in, and then you say, well, look, Umar Khalid was only heckling. So this is the problem with this country, that you believe that you will be heard just because you lie and airbrush on live television. But I want to come to this topic. The issue, first of all, is I don't approve of people heckling and disrupting any event. I believe right to protest is not right to prevent. But it's not about what I believe. It's about what they believe. The issue is all these politicians and political parties vociferously support such protests. Heckling, vandalism, dharna, they don't only support it, they celebrate it. The hypocrisy of these activists and free speech supporters is well known. The same Aam Aadmi Party, Rahul, that supported farmers blocking highways 5 years ago, chased and lathi charged farmers a week ago when they did the same in the state governed by it. The same Congress party that supported anti-CA protesters blocking roads in Delhi 5 years ago, chased and lathi charged them when they did the same in a state governed by it. The same DMK party that supported Kamra's free speech and where he's hiding currently, arrested a YouTuber for conducting a controversial interview in a state governed by it. But as I said, it's not what I or we or they believe. It is what Mamata Banerjee believes. Perhaps Ms. Mamata Banerjee believes she and her government is not in power, that law and order is not a state subject, that she is not the health and home minister and chief minister. Perhaps she believes the High Court does not have a Chief Justice and therefore no one transferred the cases to the CBI. Perhaps she believes Taliban does not exist and therefore no one meted out Talibani justice to women in Dinapur. Perhaps she believes newspapers do not exist. Therefore, no one has threatened them with withholding ads. Or that dozens of journalists like Deba Malia Bagchi have not been arrested for doing their job. Or that a professor was not arrested for sharing a cartoon and acquitted after 11 years. Perhaps she believes one community has not been appeased and the other discriminated against over religious processions and salaries to Maulvis. Perhaps she believes ED and NIA do not exist. So they could not have been physically attacked on rape charges filed on them when in pursuance of their duty. Rahul, perhaps she believes panchayats don't exist. Therefore, 20,000 of them cannot elect their leaders unopposed amid arson, looting and rape. Perhaps she believes there was no poll and therefore there could not have been any post-poll violence. Perhaps she believes the opposition party did not have any karyakartas and therefore more than 100 of them could not have been murdered. Yeah. Rahul, let us remember this. On the very day we celebrated our independence last year, an army of goons and thugs beat up protesting doctors, destroyed their hospital, tried to climb up the girls' hostel through the back, and instead of nabbing them, the police was busy chasing doctors who were tweeting on the incident and forcing them to delete their tweets. True. That the Chief Minister of Bengal, who is also the Health Minister, appointed the principal of the medical college under whose watch the gruesome rape took place, under whose watch there was inordinate delay in registering FIR, rather than suspend him till investigation was completed. She appointed him as the principal of the prestigious medical college of India.
Go on.
So it is not about what I believe, it is about what Mamata Banerjee
Rahul, this you have to give time to others also.
Okay. Yes.
No.
Make a point.
May I come in, please?
Yes, come in. And then I'll bring in Dr. Raman.
I just wanted to point out one thing, taking off from what Mr. Ranganathan said. I think one very interesting thing and a brazen lie at that, but your audience needs to hear. When she was questioned on the Arjikar case, look at the brazen impunity with which Mamata Banerjee said it's not under her ambit. She says that the CBI and the central government are responsible.
But I have to also tell you, today is a day, Sanju Varma, when the courts have also taken...
Can I please
see, I'm not getting into the substance. The idea is not about getting into the substance because, she has said a lot of other things. I think the worst thing that she said, to be very honest with you, Sanju Varma, was that she hailed British rule and called it a shared heritage. Can you believe it?
I was coming to that.
No, forget all. I'm not going there. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I just want to make one point also. Viewers, see. There are no free passes on this show, let me tell you. Today the BJP was rapped on its knuckles by the courts.
Rahul, this cannot be
one second, let me finish now. Let me put the facts out there, please. Even the BJP was rapped on its knuckles today, viewers, by the courts for wrongfully going after an activist. So this cuts across political lines. I wish today all our speakers, aside of course, Dr. Ranganathan, the other three would have said, okay, there is a problem. We have a problem. We are intolerant. When the finger points at us, we get very uppity about it. When it points at others, we delight in it. Viewers, let's call a spade a spade. There are declining tolerance levels now for people saying things. The drop of a hat you are pulled up, this is a fact. But, you know, viewers, the point is a denial. That gets my goat. Because one side has become so sanctimonious that they sit there in judgment of another. Constantly, they sit in judgment of the BJP, of people who support the BJP. They'll call them dictators, Nazis, this, that, the other, when they do exactly the same and worse. Look at what is happening in DMK-ruled Tamil Nadu, viewers, where a YouTuber has been, his house was demolished and wrecked, and therefore for 2 days I did that story, to drill that point home. Anyhow, let's move on, viewers, because we have an important story to discuss, and I don't want to stay away from it. Let's move on. The mystery, viewers, the mystery around the cash stash at Justice Varma's residence premises is intensifying every minute with new revelations. Now, news reports have emerged that a woman, a mysterious woman, in a car sweet-talked, if you please, officials to access the storeroom where this cash was found after the fire at Justice Varma's home. This new revelation is prompting many to ask whether this is how the cash pile disappeared from the storeroom. Remember, viewers, the cash pile has disappeared. All these burnt notes disappeared. And whether some of the stash escaped the fire, and if it did so, was it also removed? There are these questions on the back of these reports. Remember, Justice Varma has already denied links to cash, so it isn't surprising that amidst a plethora of twists and turns, a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court today, seeking a criminal investigation into the matter via an FIR. The PIL petitioner came out and said that I want an FIR filed, I want a criminal investigation. Arguing before a two-judge Supreme Court bench, the petitioner said, and I quote, "The in-house committee is not a statutory authority and cannot be a substitute for criminal investigations undertaken by specialized agencies. Why were no arrests made? Why was the money not seized? Why was no recovery document prepared? Why was criminal law not put into motion? Why did it take almost a week for the public to know about this scandal? Why was Justice Varma, who has distanced himself from the cash and has spoken of a, quote, conspiracy, unquote, against him, not file a police case himself? If someone was trying to frame him, you would do that, viewers." These are the questions. But the Supreme Court bench, led by two justices, dismissed the plea, saying it was too premature to entertain it at this stage. Justices Abhay Oka and Ujjal Bhuyan said, and I quote, "We have seen the press. After the in-house inquiry is over, several options are open. If the report indicates something is wrong, the in-house report, viewers. The Chief Justice of India can direct the register of the FIR or refer the matter to the Parliament after examining the report. Today it is not the day to consider this petition. After the in-house report, all options are open. Why should we go into this question? The petition is premature because internal inquiry is going on," unquote. The Supreme Court bench might have been emphatic in its rejection of the PIL, but it prompts us to ask, did it take the right decision? Did it miss the opportunity to avoid conflict of interest that is unavoidable in an in-house inquiry? Let's open this up, viewers, and I want to first go to Matthews J. Nedumpara, who's a petitioner in this case and whose petition was rejected. Mr. Nedumpara, do you feel today that the court treated you fairly?
Now the question is what the court went wrong, terribly wrong. There is no question of any kind of in-house investigation. This is a crime. A crime can be investigated only by the police. The court, the in-house committee has no jurisdiction at all, no power at all. In-house mechanism is a creation of a conference of a chief justices of the high courts and judges of the Supreme Court, and they issued a statement called Restatement of Judicial Values. That is something just in a college, in a school, the headmaster decides something. That is something internal mechanism, like what I do in my home. That is nothing to do with the criminal administration, criminal justice.
So why do you believe that an FIR should be filed? Let me rephrase that question. Why do you believe that a persuasive case is made in this instance for an FIR?
No, obviously, what the CCTV says, the fireman said, they says, Mahatma Gandhi jal raha hai. That is the people of this country head. I'm from Kerala, I don't understand much of a Hindi. But see, that is manifest. Heaps of currency that's put to fire. And that is, that, you see, it is unlike some news report coming that 500 crore has been paid as bribe. This is, people see visually, they see it, they believe it. And it's an open and shut case. An open and shut case. The only thing that is permissible in law and is a duty of the police is to register an FIR. And then that is the first thing to
No, but whenever I've asked, Mr. Nedumpara, whenever I've asked lawyers on this panel, they always say that, look, this particular in-house committee is not an ad hoc one, it's not ordinary, it has many powers, it can summon, it has the same powers really that the police have.
No, it is absolutely wrong. The job of a judge is adjudication. Investigation is the job of the police. When the honorable judges of the High Court, they visited the place, their place of occurrence, the incident, that what they did to put it with the greatest respect, what they are embarking upon is the job of a policeman. It has nothing to do with the judge. The Supreme Court judges, Supreme Court has no original jurisdiction. It only jurisdiction in criminal matters is as a court of final appeal. The trial is before the trial court. And it's a fundamental principle is nobody can be a judge. Nemo potest esse simul acta juris. That is what we say in Latin. Nemo potest esse simul.
Yeah, but I don't understand Latin. Say that in English, please. What do you mean?
Nobody can be a prosecutor and judge at the same time.
There you go. So viewers, what he's saying is, how can you sit in judgment of your own brother judge?
No,
because there is an inbuilt conflict of interest. Whether it applies or not is not our
far
concern.
Beyond that, it is not a mere conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is where you have a jurisdiction to do something. Suppose I'm a judge. I'm hearing a case where my relatives or my wife's interest or somebody's interest is there. Then there is a conflict of interest. Suppose I'm hearing a case where I have argued as a counsel. Then there is a conflict of interest. That my jurisdiction is not in dispute. Here the jurisdiction is dispute. The court has the honorable judges.
So let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan on this point. Dr. Ranganathan, do you believe that the court should have accepted a plea for an FIR? Do you believe this, or do you believe that, look, we're hyping things too much? We are creating, as certain political parties have said, the media that is, some sort of an environment for the executive to step in. We are maligning, we are part of a malicious campaign to malign the judiciary beyond any credible sort of reason, etc.
Rahul, I'm not much of a dabbler in theology, but I have to say this, 2000 years after the birth of Christ, we have another apostle in the shape of Matthews. Kudos to him for bringing in this petition. He is, I would say, an apostle of justice. And although he might have been, dismissed, his plea dismissed by the Supreme Court, he has won our hearts and he has become a hero overnight. As far as what the villains are concerned, and there is a grave danger of me being held up for contempt of court, but be that as it may, I think too much water has flown under the bridge for us to care about it any longer. What Mr. Matthews' petition states was absolutely right. This is a banana republic where the judges are judging the judges on a criminal conspiracy and a crime that has been committed. Even Inspector Clouseau would be a better judge or of crime being committed than the Supreme Court judges. This is unheard of, or at least in other countries, sensible countries, civilized countries, that a Supreme Court would order an investigation. What is the job of the Supreme Court? It is not to investigate. Tomorrow anybody can come and say, I don't want the CBI, the ED or the police to investigate. These are serious crimes being committed. Forensics has to come in. Is the Supreme Court qualified enough to do all that? Tomorrow if there is some malafide in a biochemistry lab And would you believe that the head of that lab would say, let me adjudge whether this malafide has happened or not? What is happening in this country? And secondly, I have castigated enough the Supreme Court. Now let me go full throngs and say the problem also lies with the government. Why is it silent for 10 days? Who is the law minister? Why is he silent? Why has suo motu FIR not been registered? Why are the law ministers, the government, everyone, even the prime minister, why are they silent on this? This is the problem in this country, because they expect, either they're scared of Supreme Court, or they say, well, I scratch my back, you scratch yours. What is the real reason behind this unbelievable silence in this country, Rahul, that such a thing? Let me be very honest. In one sentence, two crimes have taken place. One, the actual crime, and the other, that is happening right before our eyes. Enough said.
Enough said. Well, viewers, I'm expecting J. Anant Dehadrai to join us any moment. He's a senior advocate. He's going to be in 1 minute. He was supposed to be at 9:30, but he's obviously got engaged somewhere. It's 2 minutes past 9:30. We were hoping for a balance on this debate. I'm still expecting him to join in. But I just want to make one small comment. Viewers, the Supreme Court has constantly referred to a preset procedure. And they have said that they are following this preset procedure. So, Mr. Nedumpara, if they are following a preset procedure, you can hardly fault them, can you?
Now, let me give an example. That is an incident which happened in Kerala High Court a couple of years before. A sitting judge was accused of committing an offence under POCSCO. That is, sexual offences against the enactment to protect.
Yeah, we know that.
Children. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Then, when the child was brought to a doctor at the hospital, they observed something and went wrong. So they immediately called the police, reported to the police. The police came. They registered an FIR. Then the accused is the judge, sitting judge. So the police kept the accused column blank. A correspondent brought me to the FIR and wanted me to take up the issue. Then, since I was not certain about the facts, I hesitated. But today in retrospect, I regret that. I should have taken a step. And that to a scenario where a very serious offence went uninvestigated. So can you expect tomorrow a similar accusation comes against a sitting judge, and who will investigate? The police and the police machinery will have to be set into motion, or they wait for the committee to constitute a committee to inquire. This is absolutely, to put a very mild word, it is absolutely unconstitutional, absolutely illegal, and the police is restrained from discharging their statutory duty.
Yes.
Okay. Discharge. Yes, doctor.
No, we recently had the former Chief Justice Chandrachud, giving a lot of interviews to media and answering questions frankly. I think some people should go there and ask him, does he approve of what is happening? I'm eager to know what his comments are. Because unless the former Chief Justices of India, Chandrachud or anybody else, comment on this, I'm afraid the judges think they're invincible because they believe no politician has the courage to tell them what is right or wrong. Maybe the judges do.
Well, this is obviously a problem. This is a problem because many people are beginning to ask, and it's not just anchors, viewers, Bar Association.
Yeah.
Not one, but 6 bar associations are waiting. And I just want you to ponder the quote that the Supreme Court has put out. Let's go back to that quote, actually. I want us to reacquaint ourselves with the words of the Supreme Court. And this is what is interesting for me. Let's pull up that. We have seen the press. After the in-house inquiry is over, several options are open. If the report indicates something is wrong, so this is where the problem is. Because it is an in-house inquiry. Now we've had a situation in the past. We've had a situation in the past in a sexual harassment case where the judge who was accused stood in judgment of his own case. We've had several other cases in the past. Several other cases in the past. That judge, of course, went on to become, he was the former Chief Justice of India, has gone to become an Rajya Sabha member. And there were questions asked about procedure, etc. And again, we were told that this is the procedure. So what is the guarantee that this in-house inquiry, which obviously is being sort of judged by 3 judges, 2 from Supreme Court, 1 from High Court, is going to be above question? This is my fundamental concern here. And I think that is also a concern that all of us share. Now, you are hearing every day, and Dr. Ranganathan, this is a fact, you are hearing every day of a new twist. All of this is being reported. Yeah. Tomorrow, you might have an inquiry report which is so sanitized, it doesn't refer to any of these things. The cash, no one will tell us where the cash went, how it went. You'll have some legalese drafted into words, complicated Latin phrases, this, that, the other, and the matter's over.
No, we already had the fire chief denying, and then, his denial being denied by somebody. I mean, basically, all what is happening right now over the last 10, 12 days is people are seeding deliberately conspiracy theories, so that in the end, nobody would be held guilty. The thing with conspiracy theories is, that you float 5 or 6 of them, and then suddenly you basically, kind of deny the actual happenstance that has happened on the basis of those 5 or 6 theories, because you say, oh, you've entered a world where nothing can be certain. This is exactly what is happening, and this was bound to happen because professionals are not handling what is a strictly professional and a forensic matter. I mean, it's embarrassing to even state these things. It is embarrassing.
Because these are the
reference to the Veerasami's case, I must say if there is a conflict between a statutory provision and a statutory provision which will prevail, no judgment can be read as a statute or in substitution.
Well, sir, your arguments on the face of it are so convincing, but clearly they haven't found any weight with this 2-judge bench. Now, there is no other court of appeal. Viewers, the Supreme Court 2-judge bench has come out and said, please wait for our in-house inquiry. Let's hope, viewers, but the questions won't stop. So if the justices think that this matter is going to blow over, that over the weekend things will subside like the embers in those pictures, they're wrong. We're going to constantly ask questions because this is really a matter now of credibility, and the credibility of one of the tallest institutions in this country. It can't be reduced to smoke and mirrors. I leave it at this, viewers. Next big story. Viewers, we know lawyer Vishnu Shankar Jain as one half of the father-son duo who are at the forefront of the legal campaign for the reclamation of Hindu places of worship. What we may not know is that Vishnu Shankar Jain has made a presentation to the Joint Parliamentary Committee that was seeking suggestions from relevant stakeholders on how to reform the existing Waqf Act of 1995 so that it would become a more equitable provision of the law that doesn't privilege the interests of one community over all others. In the course of his presentation, Jain called on the panel to make at least 36 insertions, deletions, amendments, additions. You can see those pictures to the right of your screens, viewers, where Vishnu Shankar Jain has met the head of the JPC that is looking at reformulating and putting together an amendment bill which will be tabled on the 1st of April. However, viewers, Vishnu Shankar Jain believes that these 36 insertions, deletions, amendments, additions, most of them have not been incorporated. He believes that had they been done so, the new Waqf bill would have got the teeth it needs to end the arbitrary advantage that has accrued to the Muslim community. But Jain now claims that a number of his considered suggestions have not been accepted. Secondly, he has been wrongly cast, he claims, as a one-time supporter of the new bill who has now done an unexplained U-turn. Let's speak to Vishnu Shankar Jain on why there is disappointment about the bill in certain quarters. Mr. Jain, the quarter that you come from is not one that would necessarily have opposed this bill or found it deficient. You are not part of, let's say, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board or the Congress ecosystem or the AIMIM and other such individuals who are sworn to preserving the old act. You want change, but you are saying that this bill doesn't go far enough. You're also saying that some people are suggesting that you've done a U-turn. Can you set the record right? First, on your U-turn bit, and secondly, I'll ask you, what are the changes that have been accepted, what have been left out?
See, Rahul, first of all, there is no question of any U-turn. From the very beginning, my position is very, very clear that there are many draconian provisions under the Waqf Act 1995 which needs to be amended or completely repealed. Now, there are two situations and two ways to deal with this entire problem, which is a constitutional, I think, a big challenge, a very important constitutional challenge before the entire citizens of this country. The first is repeal the Waqf Act completely. In that situation, the question will arise. Now, what will be the mechanism to deal with the registration of the Waqf property? Suppose we completely repeal the Waqf Act 1995. Then you have to bring a new law to deal with the management of the Waqf properties, because you cannot leave anything in isolation. And the second mechanism was that once we were told that JPC is in a place and JPC has the power to do both things. First, to repeal the draconian provisions, and second, to recommend for insertion of new laws. So it was an all-encompassing exercise and intellectually an exercise which was in consonance with the provisions of the Constitution. So we chose the second option, that in this amendment exercise, let's go back to the era of 1923, Rahul. 1923, the first Waqf Act, the second Waqf Act. The Waqf Act 1923 was enacted by the British government, and the idea was that there was at that point of time rampant registration of Waqf properties without any basis. So the British government in 1923 brought this law, Waqf Act 1923, to have a check on the Waqf properties and to have a check on the registration. This was the simple law which was enacted in 1923, and our exercise, our intellectual exercise and aim was to bring the Waqf Act back to the era of 1923, where the government has a check over the registration of Waqf properties, and in these 100 years, through appeasement politics, the draconian provisions which have been inserted must be ripped off. Now, I gave a detailed presentation before the JPC. There's a video of me meeting the Honorable Chairman of the JPC, Mr. Jagdambika Pal. I have explained him in nitty-gritty the draconian provisions, but all those draconian provisions have not been taken care of. Let me tell you very, very clearly, when this amendment bill came, yes, I appreciated it. And I also today again appreciate it, because many of the draconian provisions have been taken away in this amendment bill. For example, the concept of verb by user has been amended, has been completely repealed. For example, the draconian provision section 40 has been completely repealed. So definitely I'll appreciate it.
But what are the ones that have not been repealed? What are the ones that should be there?
Yes. Now, Rahul, I ask a question and it will shock the conscience of this nation. Please read section 28 and 29 of the Waqf Act 1995. Section 28 says that whatever the order will be passed by the Waqf board, the district administration is bound to carry out those orders. Isn't it shocking for this entire country that Waqf board will pass the order and district administration is bound by the orders of the Waqf board? This is discriminatory and is in violation of Article 14, 21, 25 of the Constitution of India. Apart from that, Rahul, it will shock the conscience of the nation. Section 29. Section 29 gives the power to the Waqf board to inspect the government records. Matlab, they can enter the office of the government, state government or the central government and say कि हमें अपने कागज दिखाइए, and they will have to show them the records. Section 29, Section 36, Section 41 are superfluous, which have to be repealed. Section 54, which gives the power to the Waqf board to remove the encroachments by way of Waqf tribunal, that has been left unamended. Section 85, the Waqf tribunal is in direct violation of provisions of Article 323A and Article 323B of the Constitution of India. That has not been amended. Then Section 101, which gives the members of the Waqf board status of a public servant, that has not been amended. then a very important question arises that all those Waqf properties, 12 lakh acres or whatever the data we are claiming, how will those properties come back? What is the mechanism? So for that, we had suggested Waqf Dispute Resolution Commission. And it is not that I am just speaking on a debate with you. We had done the entire legislative exercise. And before the JPC, we gave a proper proposal in terms of the Commission of Inquiry Act 1952, that it has to be headed by a retired Supreme Court judge. We had divided this entire nation into 5 zones, and we had given a mandate that within 5 years, all those properties who have been illegally acquired by the Waqf board must be resolved through a dispute resolution mechanism. The first appeal should come before the Supreme Court. So these were the solutions which are completely in tune with the provisions of the Constitution. So first of all, Rahul, the acquisition that I have changed my position, I think with lot of sense of humility and responsibility, I want to say that there is no change in situation or there is no change in position. If there was a change in position, it is not that I have come out in public and speaking right now. On 8th of September 2024, I had spoken about this. I had given a detailed presentation before the JPC. So it's not that the amendment
So Mr. Jain, just quickly, in 3 or 4 top line points, I want you to explain to the viewer why you feel that this Waqf Act still is a potent weapon that allows for arbitrary advantage to the board and by extension to a community, which is against the secular principles.
Now, first of all, in this amendment bill, Waqf Amendment Bill 2024, there is a provision that Waqf Act will not apply to government properties. My suggestion was that Waqf Act should not apply to properties of non-Hindus, non-Muslims also. To private properties. Waqf Act should not apply to properties of ASI, which are under the control of ASI. Waqf Act should not apply to properties which are within the domain of Society Registration Act 1860. Waqf Act should not apply to properties which are registered under the Trust Act 1882. So these suggestions have not been incorporated. My suggestion was that Section 6, which uses the terminology person aggrieved, which was amended by the Congress government by overturning 2 judgments of the Supreme Court, which you are just seeing in this video of me explaining also to the chairman. That person aggrieved has not been reverted back to person interested, which gives a very wide power to the Waqf board, and every property or every survey in which a property of a non-Muslim comes within the domain of the survey has to be challenged before the Waqf tribunal. This has been left unamended. Then apart from that, Section 8, all this money of the survey has to be borne by the taxpayers' money. That has been left unamended. Apart from that, Section 28 and 29, which I just explained, that has been left unamended. Section 36, 41 is superfluous. That has been left unamended. Then Section 53, 54 has been left unamended. Waqf tribunal has not been repealed. Section 101 has been left unamended.
Now you're saying this with a lot of certitude. Is it because you have seen the finished product?
Yes. Okay. See, Rahul, the recommendations of the JPC are there in the public domain. And whatever I'm speaking in front of you, I request all of you that please prove me wrong. That whatever I'm saying has been taken care of by the JPC. JPC has given recommendation, but all these things which I'm speaking before you have not been considered by the JPC.
So, according to Vishnu Shankar Jain viewers, on the 1st of April, the Waqf Amendment Bill will be brought, and it will perhaps not go as far as one believes or as far as the government believes in ensuring reforms that are required, so that this law is in consonance with the secular principles of our Constitution. Viewers, of course, on the 1st, we will bring back Vishnu Shankar Jain because we will go over clause, chapter and letter of the new bill, so that no one can say that what Vishnu Shankar Jain has said today did not tally with the outcome on the 1st of April. This is very important, viewers. This is very important. We are cutting through the spin and giving you the nucleus of this bill. And we are telling you it's not going far enough. And we are not doing it because of any self-interest, political self-interest. We are only doing it because we want to see the secular credentials of our Constitution upheld daily. Thank you, Vishnu Shankar Jain. This has been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much for setting the record straight, at least from your end. We will be speaking with you again on the 1st of April. Thank you for watching, viewers.
presented by Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. After many rounds of talks, the prospect of peace remains distant in Ukraine. But that has not stopped Donald Trump from pushing for another deal. He wants Ukraine's resources, all minerals, profits from their sales, and a veto power to block other players from joining. Will Volodymyr Zelensky agree to such a deal? Does he have a choice? We'll discuss that tonight. Meanwhile, America's oldest ally has declared the breakup. Canada says the old relationship is over. We'll tell you